رسول الله حبيب الله رسول الله حبيب الله Allah our God is the greatest, the one and only glory to him. He wanted humans to be the best and give his best religion to them. Allah our God is the greatest, the one and only glory to him. He wanted humans to be the best and give his best religion to them.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى لا سيما المصطفى صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Dear viewers everywhere, welcome to another live edition of your program Guardians of the Pious. Today's episode is number 272 and it will be our third episode in explaining chapter number 65, which deals with the remembrance of death and the restraint of desires, or what is known in Arabic as ذكر الموت وقصر الأمل. Before I begin with the last Quranic reference in this chapter, which is of Surah Al-Hadid, number 16, I was answering a question which was presented by one of the viewers by the end of the last episode about the issue of the reward and punishment, or reward or punishment in the grave, and the reality of that. I did mention the ayah of Surah Ghafir, النار يعرضون عليها غدوا وعشيا ويوم تقوم الساعة أدخلوا آل فرعون أشد العذاب. And this is a very powerful reference for those who understand Arabic that explains clearly that the Pharaoh and his hosts, even though they have been drowned, but they are being punished on daily basis in the morning and in the evening. And this punishment is currently taking place ever since they have been drowned until the Day of Judgment. Then وَيَوْمَ تَقُومُ السَّاعَةِ, then when the Day of Judgment will be established, أَدْخِلُوا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ أَشَدَّ الْعَذَابِ. Allah the Almighty will order His angels to admit the Pharaoh and his hosts the worst of torment. Why the worst of torment? Because Fir'aun was arrogant. Fir'aun said, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. Fir'aun, or the Pharaoh, said, مَا عَلِمْتُ لَكُمْ مِنْ إِلَهٍ غَيْرِي. Fir'aun said, أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِنْ هَذَا الَّذِي هُوَ مَهِينٌ وَلَا يَكَادُ يُبِينٌ. Because of his arrogance, because he challenged Allah the Almighty in his pride, because he claimed to be the creator, despite all the signs and the miracles that Prophet Moses and Harun, peace be upon him, presented to him, he continued to argue that he is the Lord. So that's why Allah the Almighty said, أدخلوا, not only Fir'aun, not only the Pharaoh, آل فرعون. And this is a very important observation, because brothers and sisters, there are a lot of fool people. Those fool people, they're not fooled because they were ignorant, that they like to be fooled. Even when you inform them, when you educate them, they turn a deaf ear and a blind eye. They said, we're better off, we don't want to hear anything. This is what happened to the hosts of the Pharaoh versus the sorcerers. When the sorcerers whom the Pharaoh hired to challenge Musa and to expose him and to defeat him in public, then Musa alayhi salam threw his stick and it turned into a humongous snake that devoured all the fake objects. أُلْقِيَ السَّحَرَةُ سَاجِدِينَ. All the sorcerers fell down in prostration. They prostrated themselves and they said, we believe in the Lord of everything, the Lord of Moses and Harun. So there are signs, but if you reject the signs and you still like to be treated like deaf and blind, show servitude to a human being, then you will be treated like the Pharaoh exactly. Those who supported the oppressors will be gathered along with the oppressors. احشروا الذين ظلموا وأزواجهم. Not only the wrongdoers, not only the oppressors, but also their assistants, their helpers. Because the Pharaoh by himself could not have lifted a finger. The Pharaoh by himself could not have killed that many people of Bani Israel. The Pharaoh alone could not have tortured the children of Israel. The Pharaoh by himself could not have chased Moses and his followers to the sea. But it was his helpers, it was his hosts. So that's why Allah the Almighty gathered them in one bundle. They face the same torment. Then Yawm al-Qiyamah, they will disown each other. إِذْ تَبَرَّأَ الَّذِينَ اتُّبِعُوا مِنَ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوا وَرَأَوُا الْعَذَابَ وَتَقَطَّعَتْ بِهِمُ الْأَسْبَابُ وقال الذين اتبعوا لو أن لنا كرة فنتبرأ منهم كما تبرأوا منا كذلك يريهم الله أعمالهم حسرات عليهم وما هم بخارجين من النار. On the day of judgment, the followers will disown those whom they followed, and those who have been followed, they will disown and disassociate themselves from those who have followed them. They will disown each other. And الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوا, the followers, those who followed the oppressors, the criminals, they said, we wish that we have another turn so that we can disown them as they disowned us today. Okay, now Allah is actually telling you this is what's going to happen in the future. This is what's going to happen in Al-Barzakh, and this is what's going to happen on the day of resurrection. You still reject that? Then wait until you face it. هل وجدتم ما وعد ربكم حقا? When the Prophet ﷺ damned Abu Jahl, ibn Khalaf, and these guys in the water well of Badr, and he buried them, he addressed them saying, the Meccan chieftains, 70 of the big time criminals of the Meccan chieftains, he said, he called them by their names. O Amr ibn Hisham, Abu Jahl, O so and so. هل وجدتم ما وعد ربكم حقا? Did you find what your Lord had promised true? What Allah has promised them is a punishment. He threatened them. If you do not believe, if you continue to hinder people from the path of Allah and to challenge my messenger, you will be sent to hell. And now hell starts once they died, because once the person dies, his personal judgment begins. It is not that when we die, we sit and rest waiting for the judgment to begin. No. The long hadith of Al-Bara ibn Azib indicates that people will be either in joy and delight or in painful torment. Those who are in joy and delight, the believers, who will happen to pass fitnat al-qabr. What is fitnat al-qabr? The trial of the grave, which the Prophet ﷺ often sought refuge with Allah against. فَيَأْتِيهِ مَلَكَانِ فَيُجْلِسَانِهِ. There will come to the person once he or she is buried, and once we seal his or her grave, and we step away, two angels would come. فَيُجْلِسَانِهِ, and they will sit him up. فَيَسْأَلَانِهِ مَنْ رَبُّكَ وَمَا دِينُكَ وَمَا تَقُولُ فِي الرَّجُلِ الَّذِي بُعِثَ فِيكُمْ. They will ask him, who's your Lord? What is your faith? And what do you say concerning the man who have been sent to you? They will not say his name. It's a serious test. Do you know him? Do you know Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What do you know about him? What do you think of him? As for the believer, he will answer these questions easily, because Allah the Almighty will keep them firm. يُثَبِّتُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْقَوْلِ الثَّابِتِ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ. Allah will keep the believers firm at the time of death. Last statement, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And in the grave, when the angels, Munkar and Nakir, the names of the two angels who would test every person when they die, in the grave. So they will answer the questions easily. وَيُضِلُّ اللَّهُ الظَّالِمِينَ. As for the wrongdoers, those who wrong themselves, those who disbelieved in Allah, they will go astray because they chose so. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam once, and after burying one of his companions, they were all fixing to leave. He said, wait. Wait for what? We got the job done. We buried him. He said, استغفروا لأخيكم فإنه الآن يسأل وسألوا الله له التثبيت. This time is a very crucial time. When you bury somebody, do not dismiss right away. Do not hurry to leave. If you love this person, you better wait for 15 minutes, for half hour, as long as you can. Why? Because this time is the most difficult time. It is the judgment. It is the questioning. The Prophet ﷺ said, hang around and seek forgiveness for your brother because he's been questioned right now. The angels are questioning him right now. وَسَلُوا اللَّهَ لَهُ التَّثْبِيتِ, and ask Allah to keep him firm, to grant him the right answer. And the questions are easy, the questions are known, and there are only 3 questions. They're not like multiple choice questions or long list of questions and you have to choose and guess. No, it's only 3 questions. Who is your Lord? What is your faith? And what do you say concerning the man whom Allah has sent to you? That's it. So if you know the answer, basically you know it, you believed and that you followed that, you'll be saved. So the person would say, Rabbi aqim as-sa'a, because there is an experience of joy and delight. While for the wicked and the non-believers would say, Rabbi la tuqim as-sa'a. The angels will ask him, Man rabbuk? La adri. I don't know. Ma dinuk? La adri. I don't know. As a matter of fact, there is a sect now, they call themselves La Adriya. They are agnostic. They try to play smart. They don't want to be called atheists. So that rather they call themselves that they are not certain. They don't know whether there is God or not. Now you will get to find out. La adri, I don't know. And what do you say concerning this man? I don't know either. It will be said to him, La darita wa la tarid. The angels will pray against him. Then once he sees his seat in hellfire, he will say, Rabbi la tuqim as-sa'ata abada. These hadith are all sound hadith. We understand from that when we die, people do not just sit and rest until the resurrection. Because we said from the beginning, people are sorted out into 2 categories. One category, those who believe in Allah and in the hereafter. Okay? Because you believe in Allah, you believe in His oneness, then you must believe in life after death, resurrection, gathering and reckoning, reward and punishment. And the other category, from the beginning, they are non-believers. They don't believe in the hereafter because they don't believe in Allah. They don't believe in Allah because they don't want to believe in the hereafter. They want to accept the fact that there will be life after death and accountability. Then those who believe in Allah and the hereafter, there are some people who, for some reason, they are agnostic to the fact of life in the grave, which is known as Hayatul Barzakh. They're questioning the reward or the punishment. They say, no, it's impossible. Why is it impossible? Scientists think it's impossible because once the soul departs the body, it's impossible. Wallahi, if you believe in Allah and in His messenger, in His book, and in the Sunnah, then you must take the full package. You cannot say, I consider what is logical and I accept it, and if it doesn't make sense, I don't accept it. Then tell me, why do you, when you come to wipe over your socks or shoes, you wipe on top, not on the bottom? Whenever you're wearing your shoes or your boot covering the ankles, and now you want to perform mash al khuffayn, and instead of making a new wudu, basically you don't have to take them off because you had them on when you had tahara. If it was something biologic, then I should wet my fingers and clean up the sole, the bottom, but we don't do that. With 4 fingers you wipe on top of your socks or your boots, because this is what Allah the Almighty instructed. This is what Allah the Almighty has ordered. So He has told us that once we die, a brand new life will begin. Okay, now people also disputed whether this new life and this experience, whether the reward or the punishment will be for both the body and the soul, or only the soul will experience that. We have no reason to say it's only the soul, because it doesn't make any sense. Take a simple example. How many times when you go to sleep you see a dream? It could be a nice dream. When you wake up, you feel fresh, you feel active, you feel like you received a bishara, a glad tiding, a good news. You're working harder than before, and you're very optimistic, and you're smiling. You feel fresh. Why? Because of a dream. And this dream did not even take a fraction of a second. And sometimes people feel like they say, I had a sleep apnea, I couldn't sleep, I was tired, my body is broken into pieces. Why? Because of a dream, a bad dream that they have seen. They call it nightmare or a bad dream, whatever. So the person is upset, the person is scared, the person is asking those who can interpret dreams, how can I protect myself against that? It's actually a dream which the Pharaoh saw. And when this dream was interpreted as that there will be a child who will be born to the Israelites, to the children of Israel, who's going to ruin your domain and kingdom. So he decided to slay all the baby boy who will be born for the children of Israel because of a dream. So why, when we experience this on a daily basis, sometimes, Allah, if you doze off a little bit, you're sitting in the car, you're in the bus, you're in the flight, and you doze off a little bit, and you see a dream, because as I said, it doesn't take even a single second. And you keep either completely worried about it, or you feel very optimistic and you rejoice because of a good dream. In the hereafter, you have to understand that the one who created us in the first place, for him, it's a lot easier to do anything else. To revive us back, to make us experience as-thawab, the reward, the joy and the delight, even while in the grave until resurrection, or the opposite, God forbid. Look into the following hadith. The hadith is a sound hadith and narrated by Aisha, the mother of the believers, may Allah be pleased with her. The Prophet ﷺ used to seek refuge most against what? The torment of the grave, to the point that every fard prayer, and before making taslim, the Prophet ﷺ would say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min fitnati al-mahya wal-mamat, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhabin fi al-nar wa adhabin fi al-qabr. Isn't this what you say? Isn't this supplication what you say after you finish reciting at-tashahhud? Yeah. So what does it mean? What does it mean to say, Oh Allah, I seek refuge with you against the torment of the grave? Oh, there is a torment in the grave. This is what you said. Or you say something and you believe in its opposite. And also the Prophet ﷺ in another sound hadith, which is collected by Al-Imam Bukhari wa Muslim and narrated by Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, said that the Prophet ﷺ passed by the graveyard. Then he stopped in front of two graves and said, إِنَّهُمَا لَيُعَذَّبَانِ وَمَا يُعَذَّبَانِ فِي كَبِيرٍ. The people who are buried in these two graves are currently being tormented, and not for a big deal. They could have avoided it easily. أما أحدهما فكان لا يستبرئ من بوله وأما الآخر فكان يمشي بين الناس بالنميمة. Why are they being tormented in the graves? One of them used not to wash his private after passing urine, after urination. They will just make wudu after and that's it. So he didn't remove the impurities which soil your body and your clothes. So even if you perform wudu and pray, the prayer is invalid. لا يقبل الله صلاة بغير طهور. And the second used to walk around people with calumnies, namima. There is another hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said to one of his companions that his brother was being imprisoned, locked up in his grave because of a debt that he owed and he did not settle before his death. These are all indications, brothers and sisters, that we need to keep in mind that the belief of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah and all different madhahib of fiqh believe in the joy and delight or the torment of the grave, with the exception of Al-Mu'tazila, who deny the concept of Adab al-Qabri wa Na'im. And in any case, I like normally to answer, especially those Arabic speakers who have a problem with that. They shouldn't have a problem with that because the references are very obvious and clear. I say, okay, one day you'll find out. And this day is coming very soon. You know, so if you denied it, it will be very problematic. It will be a great loss for you. I would rather believe in what Allah the Almighty said and the wahy that he revealed to the Prophet ﷺ in order to be eligible for salvation. The following ayah, which will be the last Quranic reference in the set of Quranic references in this chapter, ذكر الموت وقصر الأمل, remembrance of death and restraint of desires, is ayah number 16 of Surah Al-Hadid. And this ayah, brothers and sisters, is a very important ayah. Imagine after you know this ayah and you know its meaning, that Allah was addressing the companions 13, 14 years after the prophethood, after they have received most of the wahy. The ayah says, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَمَا نَزَلَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ ولا يكونوا كالذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبل فطال عليهم الأمد فقست قلوبهم وكثير منهم فاسقون. Has the time not come for those who have believed that their hearts should become humbly submissive to the remembrance of Allah and to that which have come down of the truth? And let them not be like those who were given the scripture before them, and a long period passed over them, so their hearts hardened, and many of them are defiantly disobedient. وَكَثِيرٌ مِّنْهُمْ فَاسِقُونَ, and many of them are rebellious. This ayah is warning the companions and obviously warning us likewise of following the footsteps of the people of the book, the people of the scripture who were before us. طال عليهم الأمد, because of a long period passed over them, they ended up forgetting a lot about the revelations and the scripture. And not only that, they treated the scripture as some sort of goods that they traded it for very cheap price. How did they do that? They willingly changed the word of Allah in order to suit their desire. And who managed to do that? The scholars of the people of the book, the rabbis, the priests, the patriarchs. They changed the word of God. And that's why it's impossible to point out to one book and say this is the genuine divine revelation of whatever, the Old or the New Testament. It's not possible to say every single word in this book was said by God. So Allah the Almighty is warning the believers not to be like them because of the prolonged period, 14 years of revelation. And some of the companions were laughing, and the Prophet ﷺ says, by Allah, if you know what I know, you would not laugh that much. لَضَحِكْتُمْ قَلِيلًا, you would laugh very little. وَلَبَكَيْتُمْ كَثِيرًا, and you would rather weep and cry a lot. If you know the reality, if you know the shortness of this life and what will come after this life will elapse, you will be extremely worried about the future. You would rather prepare for it. So this ayah is warning the believers against being like the people of the book who came before them, and that led to hardening their hearts. فَقَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ, and eventually many of them have become rebellious. Allah the Almighty said, فَبِمَا نَقَضِهِمْ مِيثَاقَهُمْ لَعَنَّاهُمْ وَجَعَلْنَا قُلُوبَهُمْ قَاسِيَةً يُحَرِّفُونَ الْكَلِمَ عَنْ مَوَاضِعِهِ. So as a result of the hardening of their hearts, they didn't mind changing the word of Allah the Almighty. In today's terms, they didn't mind editing the word of Allah, making a new constitution, then simply prescribing this or ascribing this to Allah and saying this is the book of God. And rather it is not the book of God, because they have changed al-kalima an mawadhi'ah. They changed the word of Allah the Almighty. So again, the ayah is telling us to humble our hearts, to the remembrance of Allah, to humble our hearts submissively to the word of Allah, and that will not be obtained unless if when we read the Quran, we read it with pondering, we read it with tadabbur. I definitely believe reading one page of the Quran with tadabbur, with tafakkur, with pondering and reflection is better than reading a whole para while your mind is somewhere else. While you're reading, you're moving your lips and your tongue, you're uttering the letters and the words, but you're scrolling up and down your phone, reading the messages, looking into the new videos or into your social media, where your heart and mind is in the device, not with this book. So in order to achieve this, so have your hearts humble submissively before Allah the Almighty to the remembrance of Allah and to that which have been sent down of the truth, the person have to turn his heart and mind attentively to whatever he is reading or to whatever he is listening with the will of acting upon it, not just to listen to it or to simply read it. Okay, brothers and sisters, inshallah we'll take a short break and we'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
حبيب الله رسول الله حبيب الله
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk.
I could agree that institutional racism does exist, and to be precise, we should define institutional racism, and that is hidden or non-apparent racism within an organization or an institution. I have witnessed it, maybe in half Saudi. My last name is Arab. So when I moved to the States back in 2002, after the incidents of 9/11, I did face some racism.
I think it can be what you do, but in the sense of without thinking. The things you do naturally without having to stop and think, that just come out.
Okay.
You know, this innate nature of you and how you think and the way you see things.
We can get your insights on the two different countries, inshallah, further on into this conversation. Mamadou, if I can come to you, what's your thoughts on institutional racism, especially in the UK? Do you think it's really prevalent there?
The way we live, it's kind of a combination of two things: our language, and then what we believe in. So if we have got a language without believing in something, so it will be useless. So we have to get like both things going together.
I'm calling your name, oh Allah.
Hoda TV strives to remain the premier English language Islamic channel in the world, and to do so we need your input. Send us your thoughts, suggestions and feedback through email at feedback@hoda.tv. Hoda TV is committed to helping others, so why not help Hoda TV share the message of Islam worldwide? Take part in helping spread the authentic message of Islam based on the Quran and the Sunnah throughout the world by sponsoring Hoda TV. Don't miss this unique opportunity to gain the reward from Allah.
رسول الله حبيب الله رسول الله حبيب الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back with a quick reminder in the beginning of the segment with our phone numbers, area code 002, then 023855 131 or 132. The email address is guardians@huda.tv. The first hadith in this chapter is hadith number 573 in the entire series. The hadith is a sound hadith collected by Imam Bukhari, may Allah have mercy on him, and it is narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, and his father. قال أخذ رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بمنكبي فقال كن في الدنيا كأنك غريب أو عابر سبيل وكان ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما يقول إذا أمسيت فلا تنتظر الصباح وإذا أصبحت فلا تنتظر المساء وخذ من صحتك لمرضك ومن حياتك لموتك. In this hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, when he once took hold of the shoulders of Abdullah ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, he said to him, be in this world like a stranger or a wayfarer. That's it. That was the advice. كن في الدنيا كأنك غريب أو عابر سبيل. Be in this life like a stranger or even like a wayfarer. Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, used to say, then when you survive till the evening, do not expect to live until the morning. And if you survive till the morning, you should not expect to live until the evening. While in good health, do good deeds before you fall sick. And while you are alive, do good deeds before death surprises you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We have a caller. Sister Suhaila from the KSA. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, uncle. How are you?
Fine, alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking, Suhaila, and welcome to the program.
Thank you. Uncle, I have two questions and I hope you won't mind answering them.
Go ahead, please.
My first question is, I came across a hadith which says that there will be certain people who will enter Jannah on the day of resurrection without any accountability. And those people are the ones who do not ask anyone for ruqyah, who do not believe in bad omens, who put their trust in the Lord, and who do not use branding. I'm not able to understand the meaning of this phrase, do not use branding. Could you please explain it in detail?
Okay, sure.
And my second question is, that can I pray in dark, especially the night prayers? Because I can switch on the lights, but I feel it more comfortable when I pray in dark. I feel more peaceful, and I have more khushu when I pray in dark. So can I pray with lights off?
Okay.
Thank you. Jazakallah khair.
وجزاكم. طيب, let me tackle Suhaila's questions first. The hadith that you refer to is a sound hadith which talks about those who shall enter paradise without any previous reckoning, and accordingly they will not encounter any accountability, any punishment. They will be sent to paradise straightforward. The Prophet ﷺ said about their traits that لا يسترقون, according to the narration of Imam al-Bukhari, and it is a sound one. ولا يتطيرون, لا يكتوون, which means they do not get branded, because as branding was one of the means of treatment. They said the Arab آخر الدواء الكي. If a person was sick and he has some chronic ailment, they branded him so that he would recover. So those who give up on branding and those who truly put their trust in Allah the Almighty are those who listed in the hadith, or these are the traits of those who shall enter paradise without any previous reckoning or punishment, which basically all the traits revolve around the quality of putting your trust in Allah the Almighty, or وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. Assalamu alaikum. Brother Muhammad from the KSA. Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad.
Alaikum salam, Sheikh. How are you, Sheikh?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking. Brother Muhammad.
Sheikh, I have two questions.
Yeah?
I came back recently from vacation from India.
Welcome back.
What I saw was in India, after Salah, a lot of non-Muslims get their children to the mosque, near the mosque, and ask the Musallis to blow some sort of dua on them. Is this permissible in Islam? Can we blow some duas and read it on non-Muslim children?
Okay.
And if yes, what is the duas can we read and blow on them?
Okay.
And the second question is, a lot of mosques and madrasas ask for charity. And supposing we give charity and they teach wrong aqidah to the madaris, are we held accountable, or are we sinful for that?
Okay. Can you give me an example of what you think it is wrong
like
aqidah.
a lot of imams in India tell the people to, you can go to the graves of the graves of some religious people and do that. Dargahs, what they call it in India. And if we give charity to those kind of mosques, are we held sinful for that?
طيب, got your question, Brother Muhammad. Thank you so much. Suhaila's second question is praying in the dark where she acquires more tranquility and khushu'. If you can pray in the light with khushu' or in the dark with khushu', whatever gives you more khushu', do it. If you feel better to pray while you have a dim light or you turn the light off, that is fine, as long as that gives you khushu'. The scholars also spoke about closing the eyes and disputed whether closing the eyes is disliked or not. And I like what Ibn al-Qayyim, may Allah have mercy on him, said in this regard. Whatever gives you khushu', because sometimes if the person is praying with a lot of things around him, it distracts his attention. So if that will give you khushu' and the opposite will make you lack khushu' and concentration, then it is okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Simra from the KSA. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you, Sheikh?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking. Sister Simra, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Sheikh, I have one question. Is it permissible to read Harry Potter books?
Okay. How many volumes have you read already?
I've read
all
of them.
All
but
of them. And how many times?
Yeah, I've read them many times. But in my youth, not right now.
Okay.
It was before, many years before.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Samra. No problem. That's a very good question. Okay. Brother Muhammad's first question, when he visited his country, he found a lot of non-Muslims bringing their children to the masjid so that the imam would blow on them, meaning يعني, he would recite ruqya. Is that permissible? And what would he recite if he has a chance to recite? Is it permissible to recite ruqya upon a non-Muslim? Is it permissible to pray for a non-Muslim who's sick to recover? And is it permissible to wish well for a non-Muslim? All of that is permissible. It is permissible to pray for a person who's sick, even if he is non-Muslim, to recover. It is permissible, especially if he's a neighbor, especially if he is a family member, but he is not Muslim. And Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated in the sound hadith the long story of, briefly by the end, that one of them recited the ruqya upon the chieftain of one tribe, whom they initially refused to host them. So they said, would you give us anything? They said yes. The chieftain got bitten with a scorpion, and they tried every kind of medication with him. It didn't help, so he was expiring. So when those non-Muslims sought help from the Muslim expedition, and one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ recited ruqya upon him, the hadith says exactly and literally, فَكَأَنَّمَا نَشَطَ مِنْ عِقَالٍ, as if he was tied up and he was untied. He got up. He was cured immediately because of the ruqya of a Muslim. What did he recite? It was Surah Al-Fatiha. He recited Surah Al-Fatiha. And that tells us that any part of the Quran, any segment of the Quran, any ayah of the Quran, you can recite as a ruqya. There is, of course, some preference, but Surah Al-Fatiha is the greatest. Ayatul Kursi and Al-Mu'awwidat. You can recite the ruqya for non-Muslims if they need it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Noor from the KSA. Assalamu alaikum, Noor.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Go ahead.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Yes, I hear you. Go ahead. I'm fine, alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking. Welcome to the program.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
My first question for you, Sheikh. Some of the Muslims arguing about the death of Isa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. in what way he died, or it is literally meaning or logically, because some of the Muslims arguing about it. The
Okay.
second question is, when he go back to earth for the second time, it means he go back just like a person, just like us. And I need some basis from the Quran and Hadith.
Mm-hmm.
That's shukran.
You're most welcome. No, I got your questions are valid though. Inshallah, we'll answer them. Now, Brother Muhammad also says that is it permissible to donate to institutes which teach, a corrupt belief? It is true that there are a lot of Muslim institutes, but they don't have the proper belief. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ predicted and prophesied that this ummah would be divided into 73 sects. So some people will be called Muslims or will call themselves Muslims, but in reality they are deviant. We have a very clear sign that says La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah means none has the right to be worshipped, none has the right to be invoked, none has the right to be to seek his help other than him, illallah. Then every single rak'ah we recite Iyyaka na'bud wa Iyyaka nasta'een, and this is in a single ayah. And look at the preference, because the Arabic grammar is amazing. The ayah doesn't say we worship you and we seek your help. No, it says it's only you whom we worship. It's only you whom we seek his help. And you're not allowed to seek the help of other than Allah. You're not allowed to invoke other than Allah. You're not allowed to supplicate to other than Allah. And when you do, you become simply like the Meccan pagans before Islam. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ used to argue with them. I have some students at Al-Azhar, and those students, they would, at the time of their exams, they will go to certain tombs and make dua there and ask the people who are buried there in order to assist them in tomorrow's exam. Look what Allah the Almighty said in the beginning of Surah Az-Zumar when He condemned the behavior of the Meccan pagans and their justification, because they said, وَالَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِهِ أَوْلِيَاءَ مَا نَعْبُدُهُمْ إِلَّا لِيُقَرِّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ زُلْفَى. Yes, they did believe in Allah, that there is God and He is in heaven and He's the Creator. So why do you invoke these objects? We invoke them because we cannot communicate with Allah directly, or because they are better than us, so they convey our message to God. Allah dismissed all of that. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَحْكُمُ بَيْنَهُمْ. Allah the Almighty will judge between them on the Day of Judgment in this regard, and then Allah the Almighty labeled them as liars and disbelievers. Liars and disbelievers. Why? Because they have taken deities with Allah in worship. They invoke them besides Allah, not instead of Allah. They supplicate to them, they sought their help, believing in God that they will communicate the message to God and God will help them. If we say that we study Quran in a madrasa and we memorize Quran, and this is the plague of today's world, where people put their focus on memorizing, not understanding. Only memorizing and not knowing the meaning, so that we produce huffaz who do not understand anything of what they memorize. And that's why they compete with each other in Ramadan as who is the fastest hafiz, who would recite and lead the Taraweeh, Isha and Taraweeh in a shorter time. He can recite one para and pray 20 plus rak'ah, and all of that will be in 45 minutes. This is not what Allah the Almighty wants from us. He wants us to understand. لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ وَلِيَتَذَكَّرَ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ Surah Sad, number 29. That is the purpose of revealing the Quran. We send down the Quran upon you in order for them to ponder over its verses, in order to take heed, in order to understand. So the Quran tells us Allah is close to us, and we do not need to take any intermediary. When we ask Him, we should turn to Him directly. And once we ask Him, this is a great act of worship. And once we ask Him, then Allah the Almighty will deliver an answer one way or another. طيب. So, when you know that there are some of these institutes which teach corrupt belief, I have two approaches. The first is to sit with the person who is in charge, whether the hafiz or the mullah or the principal, and try to give him da'wah, explain to him that the danger of doing these corrupt behaviors, and as it affects one's belief and one's aqidah. And the Prophet ﷺ perceived that as an act of associating partners to Allah in worship. So if there is possibility, and alhamdulillah, slowly things are getting better, fine, then we should support them. Otherwise, I believe in your country and in every country there is the good and the bad. So if you have a charity, if you have a sadaqah, put it in the good way, not in the bad way. Because Allah the Almighty said in Surah Al-Ma'idah, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. And He said in the following segment, وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. I'm pretty sure there are good institutes who teach the Quran, who make the students understand what they memorize, and they have a proper belief. Support them. You get a similar reward of what they do because supporting them financially. وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. And you should not assist nor help one another in doing anything which is considered a sin or a transgression. Brother Amin from United Arab Emirates, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Doctor.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes. Doctor, I have a quick question. I have a friend of mine. He wants to go for Hajj.
Yeah.
But he has the money and everything. But the thing is concerned, he has a mortgage that he's paying. And just the question is whether he can go for Hajj and still paying his mortgage, or he have to clear the mortgage first before he go for Hajj. That's the question I want to ask. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Amin. Akhi, if you're talking about mortgage with interest, then I need to get rid of riba as soon as possible. If you're sincere in your tawbah. Even if I have some money which is saved for Hajj, if this money can help in settling my debt and paying off the balance, this is a priority, because Allah the Almighty doesn't want you to perform Hajj while you are in debt, even if this debt is not interest based. The ayah is very clear, 97 of Surah Al-Imran, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. Hajj is a duty that people owe to Allah the Almighty if they can afford it. If they can afford, if they have the means. If you can't afford it, then you're not required to perform Hajj. But if the person has a loan and he has a steady income, and the loan has a timetable, he's paying on payments, and the payments do not burden him, and he managed to save some money to go for Hajj, then this is permissible, as long as the loan is not an interest-based loan or mortgage. May Allah the Almighty guide us to what is best. Brothers and sisters, by that we come to the end of today's edition of Gardens of the Pious. Inshallah, in the next episode, I shall begin by answering the Harry Potter question and news questions about Isa alayhi salam. Until then, I leave you all in the care of Allah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
حبيب الله رسول الله حبيب الله Allah, our God, is the greatest, the one and only glory to Him. He wanted humans to be the best and give His best religion to them. Allah, our God, is the greatest, the one and only glory to him. He wanted humans to be the best and give his best religion to them.
So why did they ignore that? Forgetting all about hell in paradise, worshipping cows, fire and stones, selling the best with the cheapest price.
So why did they ignore that? Forgetting all about hell and paradise, worshipping cows, fire and stones, selling their best with the cheapest price.